Have you ever written a statement of inquiry, spent far too long getting the concepts right, ticked every IB box, and then never used it again? A lot of statements of inquiry don't shape learning. They sit comfortably at the top of the planner, they sound impressive, but actually they change very little in the classroom. In this video, I'll show you step by step how to build a statement of inquiry that actually works, that drives inquiry, that shapes learning experiences, and that also helps students think conceptually and not just repeat IB language. In my experience, having taught IB for over 15 years, I found that statements of inquiry are rarely wrong, but they are very often unclear in how they are supposed to guide learning. A common mistake found in many statements of inquiry is that they focus on content coverage. Instead, statements of inquiry should focus on developing, promoting, stimulating student thinking. So, for instance, in a Spanish unit, if the statement of inquiry reads, students will learn about eating habits in Spain and will use menus to deepen their cultural understanding. What we have here is a description of the topic, a description of the content, the strategies that will be used throughout the unit. However, it is not conceptual. In order for this statement to become conceptual, we need to reframe it, following the steps I presented in a previous video. And if you haven't seen it, you can find the link on the screen and also in the comments below. So, reframed conceptually, we could have something like eating habits vary according to different cultural contexts and cultural traditions. So suddenly we're signaling to students that as well as learning vocabulary, practicing and developing the different language skills, they will be required to do a different type of work, a different type of reflection and thinking through comparisons, through transfer, to reach some knowledge, some understanding of the relationship between food and culture. So now we're going to go through a simple three-step process to build effective statements of inquiry. And you will be able to download a document to support this process as well. The link is in the comments. Once you've got your topic or the skills that you want to develop, the first step is to choose the conceptual direction for your inquiry. Looking at the list of concepts provided by the IB for your subject area, you're going to choose one key concept and at least one or two related concepts. The key concept provides the big idea and the general direction for your inquiry, and the related concepts, what it does is to narrow the focus of that inquiry. It provides precision. Just by placing concepts together in a sentence, that does not create meaning. Instead, you need to think about how do these concepts interact? How do they relate to the topic that I have chosen? So, an example, using the food example I provided earlier, we can say that eating habits are influenced by cultural contexts. Or I can also say that food reflects specific cultural practices. Or I can also say that eating habits are connected to specific cultural traditions or cultural practices. So really spend time thinking about the concepts that you have chosen, why you have chosen them, and how they relate to each other. How do they interact? By doing this, you will see that it's much easier to design tasks and resources that are aligned with that conceptual understanding that you want your students to reach. Step 3 is about integrating the global context. Global contexts are not something you add after writing the statement of inquiry. A global context only works if it extends the conceptual understanding beyond the classroom. A very common mistake is to add the global context as an afterthought. Oh, just take identities and relationships. Let the global context grow out of the conceptual understanding. I'm going to give you two examples so that you can see the impact that the lens provided by the global context can have. So, using the topic of food presented earlier, we have example 1. eating habits vary across different cultural contexts and are shaped by social and family traditions. So here we have the key concept of culture, driving an inquiry about eating habits and extending it and through the lens of social and family traditions, how they impact the way people eat. In example 2, we have eating habits differ across context, influenced by both cultural norms as well as access to resources and levels of equity. The same topic, food, the same concepts, however, the global context adds different elements which will require students to think about another element, which is equity and access to resources. To think about integrating the global context in your statement of inquiry, it's also useful to think about the language that you are going to use to signal this integration. So here is your checklist for your statement of inquiry. Step 1, think about the direction. Identify your key concept for direction, the related concepts to provide focus and precision. This will frame the conceptual thinking of the unit. Step 2 is thinking about the connection. Identify the relationships between the concepts and the topics to form a transferable conceptual understanding. Step 3 is the transfer. Extend that conceptual understanding through a global context to ensure relevance and transfer beyond the classroom. And that's it. Nothing extra, no overthinking, focus on conceptual clarity. Remember, if you only write a technically correct statement of inquiry, students will probably not engage conceptually as they should. Assessments will feel disjointed and planning will feel like ticking boxes. Avoid this by focusing on thinking and not just content. This week, why don't you apply this 3-step process to your next unit plan? Remember, it's about direction, connection, and transfer. And let me know how you get on in the comments. I would love to hear. If this explanation was useful, share it with another colleague who may need to hear the advice. Subscribe to the channel for more clear, practical guidance, and if you need step-by-step support, do consider joining my program or contact me directly. All the links are in the comments. Thank you for watching.